want to welcome in Sarah. Hey, Sarah, welcome to the show. Um, Give us
Peace,
your
peace,
thoughts.
family, peace.
Give us your thoughts on 2017, because obviously you've been at the center of a few things as well. So, what's been your thoughts looking back over
Me?
Speaker's Corner,
Me
Muslims,
at the center?
interactions, etc.?
No, not me. I've been quiet for 2017, right? Um,
When did you
no,
stop
all
going?
jokes. It's been about 6 months, 5, 6 months now.
Okay, all right.
It's been about 5, 6 months now. 2017 was interesting for me. I guess it was an culmination of, an accumulation of all of the angst, anger, ill feelings towards me, I guess, that a lot of people felt towards me at Speaker's Corner, which was interesting. The fact that, I had to have the police come to me on a personal level and warn me was very interesting to me. It made me see things differently, definitely move a little bit differently. And yeah, I think 2017 was an eye-opener, if I'm honest, for especially the Dawah team or the Muslims down at Speaker's Corner, or in general, the way people view factual information. That was a real eye-opener for me, how factual information can really trigger people to the point of wanting to actually kill somebody.
Well, are you ever going to spill the beans on this?
On what?
What happened? Because we get bits and pieces, but never the details, and I'm always wondering: do you actually want to get this out or not?
Oh no, I put the video out on Content of Everything. Basically, I think it's about 6 months ago, or probably about before that. Before about 6 months, I got a phone call. I don't know, because there was like a build up. I used to do my my in-car or my in-house videos, right? Just little rants that I used to have. And I actually got a phone call from a friend of mine telling me that they have heard from another Muslim that somebody wants to, or a group of people want to do something of harm to me, right? So I'm
You
like,
or your
right,
family,
cool.
or both?
Say again? To me,
You,
personally.
your family, or both?
To me personally.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
So to me personally, so I said, okay, cool. I hear that. And I just take it as, people speak, whatever. And then about a month later, I'm still at the Speaker's Corner at this point, and about a month later, that's when the police contact me, right? And they basically say, listen, we have inside intelligence that basically we know that there's some kind of plot to do something of harm to you, right? They call it an Osmond warning. I think that's an official name for it, or a threat to life warning, right? So I'm like, wow, okay. So because the police work in different departments. So the police that came to me don't know what it's regarding. They know that they have to actually come and give me this warning. So they said to me, do you have any idea what it's about? And I was like, well, I'm kind of guessing, right, that it's to do with, the Speaker's Corner stuff. And they were like, what do you mean? So I had to explain to them the whole thing. And that's when I recorded the actual conversation with the police officers, because when they came to see me, I was like, I better have this recorded just for my own personal, for my own personal safety, just in case. Because, personally, I don't trust the police, but hey, that's another issue. So I said, let me record it. So I recorded they didn't know, because I had my recorder device on me. They didn't know. So when I did that, that's when I realized, wow, okay, so these people, whoever they are, the police wouldn't give the information as to who it was, right? Prior to that, I'd had phone calls. My number because I had a LinkedIn page, and I had my number on the LinkedIn page and my email just for like business stuff, right? And so certain people from the Muslim community had gone on my LinkedIn page, posted my LinkedIn number, my phone number on the comment section. I had received phone calls at like 2 o'clock in the morning saying, oh, Islam's going to dominate the world. There's nothing you can do about it. Like that kind of stuff. Like they'd gone on my fiance's Facebook page. They had taken her name and details and posted that in the comment section and started calling her a bitch and all this kind of stuff. And then the police came to me and was like, listen, we know something's going to happen. We have inside intelligence, da, 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 da. Protect yourself, protect your family. So I'm like, what, who, what, when, and how, right? And they're like, listen, it's an ongoing investigation. We can't give you details, but we're telling you that we know something or somebody was planning. And I'm like, well, give me more info. And like, well, you've got to contact this department and that department and all this kind of stuff. And it became like a very long process. So when I informed my family, they were just like, listen, forget that. Just forget Speaker's Corner altogether. Forget them. You've got a family here. You got people to protect. These people aren't worth it. And I was like, you know what? They're not worth it. It was really that simple.
Can I ask you what, like, did it say, when they say protect yourself, what exactly did they want him to do?
What was very frustrating for me is that the police told me to maybe, you know, they said to me, don't, you know, make your movements well known, you know, maybe take different avenues back home, you know, go to work a different way, maybe put more locks on the doors, you know, put a camera outside your house. And I'm like, listen, like, I don't even know who's coming for me. Like, you know, let me know. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, well, if we let you know, you may take the law into your own hands, da 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 da. We don't want that, so we have to keep it a police in-house thing. That's what was frustrating to me.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? Because you don't know who's coming. If they've got an idea and they can give you a face, they don't even have to give you a name, so you can keep an eye out for somebody's face. Hang on a moment, there's the police. This is the face that I need to keep an eye on.
I mean, I went down, gave them all the information I could. I mentioned certain individuals at Speaker's Corner who may have been involved. And what was interesting was watching it unfold on the YouTube channel when Big Bro specifically spoke to Abdul Hamid and Mohammed Tawhid. And they were like, yeah, well, we heard about it too. And it's like, well, what? It's like, what? Yeah, we heard about it. It's like, well, okay. So all the people that were saying, oh, he's an actor and he's doing this and it's a lie. And I'm like, well, Abdul Hamid is actually confirming, guys, right, that he heard about it too. And not only did he hear about it, he heard about it and didn't inform anyone. So then I'm like, well, did they want something to happen? Because if you hear about something like that and you don't inform people,
well, that's complicit, aren't you? You're an
right,
accomplice.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Exactly.
But do you have any idea what set this off? Because I've got a question from the chat. Do you think because of your skin color, or is it something that you did? Because, come on, you just asked them some logical questions. That's why I loved your stick. This is what I loved about it.
I think it escalated with the Aisha argument. With the child molestation argument, I think that's where it escalated. That's when they were like, no, we have to stop this guy. And I also do believe race may have something to do with it. I mean, if I look at it from a race-based thing, I know that myself, Gary, Big Bro, Jedi, Respect, and the thing is, I use it, but I can't say it's exclusive because Raj has been targeted also, right? I don't know if Rob has been targeted. I don't know if Rob's stuff has been put out online and all this kind of stuff. I don't know that. It could be, could not be, I don't know. But what I've noticed is that it happened a lot to black guys because they did the same thing to AR23. They put his business online, where his business is, right? And it's like,
but he's a Christian, isn't he?
No, he's not a Christian.
No, but what I notice is, and I say, if somebody puts somebody's address online, or with Answer, right? They put his children's school online, I believe, right? Answer, am I correct or incorrect?
Yeah, they mentioned in one of the schools that my children go to.
Right.
Wow.
That to me is a direct threat to me, because that's basically showing a group of people where you are going to be at a certain point in time. Everybody knows school finishes at 3 o'clock, right? Everybody knows that. They know Answer could be there to pick up his children at school, 3 o'clock. But they're telling people where you're going to be. And then they say, oh no, this is a peaceful religion. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, seriously? I'm like, why are you going? Because they put where they thought I lived online at one point. They thought I lived in a certain part of London, and they put it online. And I'm like, no, you guys are way off. But I'm thinking the fact that you guys thought I lived there and you're telling people that's where I live, it's like, wow, like I don't have any desire myself to know where. I've debated so many people at Speaker's Corner, Shabir, Hamza, you know, Mansour, Hijab, Ali Dawah. I have no desire to know where you live, where you work, who your children are, who your wife is. I have no desire. I don't care. I'm there to debate and I'm there to go home. But you guys,
but that's the big thing. That's the big thing, isn't it? So you, me, and everybody else, we don't care where they live, who they associate with, what their job is. And even if we knew and we found that out, we're not going to say something necessarily.
Yeah, it's like,
just,
so what?
it's not important. What is important is the ideas to be debated there. But again, those people that you've mentioned, well, I think we've got to stress as well that they're not implicated in any way as far as we know, any of the people that you've just mentioned now.
No, I don't know they're implicated. I don't know that.
No,
I'm not saying they are. What I'm saying is when it came to the video that I saw unfold when Big Bro questioned Abdul Hamid and he said, yeah, he heard, that to me said, hang on a minute. There's something going on here that these guys are not revealing. Because if it had to take Big Bro to question you for you to say it, that means you're withholding information. And why would you withhold that kind of, you've got, because he had Callum's number. He could have called Callum and said, Callum, I've heard that some people are trying to do something to Sarah. Tell him, you know, be careful. He could have said that. Would have been easy. I don't necessarily like anybody that I've debated, but I don't want to see them stabbed. You know, it's like, come on. If I hear someone's going to do, I'm be like, yo, get this message to this guy. Listen, I've heard this. Tell him to be careful. Okay. I've heard it from so-and-so, but they didn't even do that. And that to me said, that made me say, you know?
Well, I think we could be honest and say, I don't think they would have shed a tear if something had happened to you, especially after your altercation with Hamid.
Of course they would.
And I think Hamid and Tawid, they Tweedledum and Tweedledee, they're both thugs down there. And they're not all like that, but those two are definitely sort of thuggish, and you can see it in videos where Hamid has said, not Hamid is obvious, but Tawid has said things as well, specifically to Ty. He made threats against, to Ty, which is still on the video as well. So the two of them are kind of more the thuggish type of guys, but they probably wouldn't do something physical, but they would not shed a tear, and they probably have a smile, to be honest. They wouldn't admit it if something happened to anybody that's, a regular critic of theirs.
And so, just for me, they like to refer to the fact of the time that I went down there to fight Mohammed Tawhid, right? They love to refer to that. And they love to also omit the run-up to it, right? So I always say, Mohammed Tawhid admits in his interview, don't take my word for it, he admits that he threatened me, right? He threatened me twice on 2 different occasions. The last occasion is where I went down to say, you know what, man to man, let's go and finish this, right? Whether that was a good choice or a bad choice, that remains to be seen. Right? I'm not saying it was a great choice to do, but I'm saying I did because at that point, things had been building. I'd been getting threats online, and I thought to myself, is this guy part of it? I don't know, but I know he personally has a problem with me and he personally threatened me. So I'm like, all right, cool, let's deal with it. And then people are like, oh, Sarah came down there and he wanted to fight Mohammed Tawhid. And I'm like, yeah, but this is after the guy. Why are you guys forgetting that he threatened me first? Like, I didn't just wake up that Sunday and be like, you know what I'm going to do? Just going to go down there and threaten this guy. Want to fight, Like, you guys had seen my videos prior. I never went down there in that capacity. Not once. Not once. I'd been debating the facts, debating the issues, and that was it. But this guy, wanted something else, and then it came to, you know, now Mohammed Hijab wants to fight me in an MMA match and all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, wow, like seriously, like this is what it's turning into now.
Yeah,
And
so it is
sorry,
physical violence, bullying. Then it's the intimidation from, as you say, from Hijab. He had nothing to do with it. He wanted to take it on because Tawhid obviously didn't want to do that. And I suppose with 2021 could say, okay, sorry, that probably wasn't a great idea to go down and threaten him. But again, you know, when somebody's emotional and when you've had those threats against your life, I think most of us would sit back and go, hey, what if it was me? I'd want to sort this out one way or another. Otherwise, I'm just left hanging here. So I think from that point of view, one can say, but you know, if you sit in an objective chair, then you can go, okay, sorry, that probably wasn't a good thing. But regardless of that,
however,
Hijab had nothing to do with that.
What I've noticed is, as you've grown up, as we all grow up through life, we know that when people bully somebody, they normally get away with it because the person they're bullying allows them and doesn't stand up to them, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I was not going to be that person.
Yeah.
And I've never been that person. If you'd come to me, I'm going to come to you. I'm like, all right, cool. It is what it is. I don't mind swinging it out. And wherever the chips fall is wherever they fall. But I'm not going to sit here and cower in a corner and allow you to intimidate me. I'm just not going to do that. I've never been that sort of person. And so what I noticed through my time at Speaker's Corner is I was watching the, let's say, the arrogance and the ego of the people there from the Muslim faith walk around like they owned the place. And I've watched them intimidate people, and I'm like, you know what? This is a very intimidating energy that you guys are coming off with. And because people generally didn't stand up to them because of the numbers that they had, they were allowed to grow, like their ego grew and their arrogance grew. And I'm like, no, not with me, because I'm just not the type of person. I don't mind taking on 20 of you. I'll go down. That's just the way I am. I'm like, I'll go down. I'll take 20 of you. I don't care. But you are not going to do that. And so what I feel is like, just on a personal level, I kind of gave people a little bit more, you know, oomph to say, you know what? No, you're not going to do that around here. Actually, we can see you doing it, and you've been doing it for a while, but you're not going to do that around here. Actually, this is Speaker's Corner. It's a place of free speech. You're not doing it. Either debate the information or get out, basically.
Yeah, and so obviously your approach galvanized a few of them even more, because they can't really, because you've got quite a good style in the sense of how you debate and stuff like that as well. And so they were very unlikely to try and catch you out and so forth, which is obviously what they attempted with Sabua with me. So they couldn't really go that route, so they had to try something else with you. And so, you know, it's a case of what do we do with these critics? How do we try and, quote, cut them down to size or whatever the case is? And so they tried different approaches. And unfortunately, of course, all the approaches appear to backfire. It only looks good to Muslims who are already brainwashed, who already follow these people like they're the second coming of a Messiah or something like that. But the rest of us can see the approaches, the tactics, all this sort of stuff. And we're going, you know, these people are not to be trusted. They are dishonest, disingenuous, hypocritical, and that's being generous on the intellectual side. Never mind the physical and the rest of it.
I agree. I think I also think it kind of started with the Shabir debate. I think they kind of sat up and took notice when I debated Shabir, and you know,
Have you watched the one that Stops did? Stops did a great sort of breakdown of your video.
Yes. It was fun. I found it fun. I was like, wow, somebody actually took time out to, you know, like break it down, you know, and I was very thankful for that. Very, very, and I am thankful for that. And I will say, thank you very much. Stopspamming. Thank you very much for that.
Welcome. I had fun doing it. Come on. I was giggling half the time.
I know. I could see, but it's that thing of when that happened, they had to sit up and, you know, even if we know, as Rob said, the most brainwashed individual has some level of sense, and they could see that even though they might love Shabir and they may love his arguments, they could see that he lost that one, right?
Oh, absolutely. Even though I still get comments today saying, no, they
we lost
you. Sorry, say again.
think he's muted himself.
We've lost you.
I'm guessing what he's
No, he's not.
wanted to say is he still gets comments about how well he did in that debate. I'm guessing. Stops, you've muted or you've disappeared. I'm not sure there. But Sarah, Ansel was with you. Ansel's obviously on here, and he was with you at one of those occasions where they had all the cameras, and mysteriously that footage never appeared.
Right, and this is the thing. This is why I'm so thankful for Ansel. Right, I'm so thankful because when that came out, and when he said, "Oh, what did he say?" He said, "I said dirty fucking Muslims" or something like that. I was like, literally, like in my head, I was like, "What did this guy just say?" Like, if you watch the video when he said that, well, you know, I went down there. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was amped. I was ready for a fight. I was amped. Okay. And so, but when he said that, I was like, "You're a fucking liar." And because I knew what I said that day, and Answer was there, and I was like, no, Answer was with me, and Answer knows I did not say that. You know, that I know I didn't say it. Answer knows I didn't say it. And when he said there were 4 or 5 cameras that said it, I was like, fantastic. That means you've got 4 or 5 pieces of evidence to show me to be a liar. You know? And so when he made this dumb excuse for, you know, there not being any footage, I was like, that sounds about right. Because he knows he didn't have it. And Answer knows he didn't have it. I mean, and Answer was there the day that he threatened me. And Answer saw him being held back by like all of his people, like, you know, calm down, calm down. You know, Answer was there. So, and I said, because I think the reason they didn't like me, I saw what they were like without the cameras around. Because the cameras at Speaker's Corner only tell a certain message, right? So Mohammed Hijab will speak in front of the camera quite eloquently, right? But then you can see the undertone of passive aggressiveness from him. Some people don't. But I witnessed Mohammed Hijab's aggressiveness firsthand with no cameras there when he came up to me and attempted to throw the drink in my face. And I addressed it on that same video when he wanted to fight me with the 3 options, right?
Yes.
I addressed it to him and I said, listen, are you going to address the situation that you had with me before when you tried to throw the drink in my face and then tell me you're going to put me in hospital? Are you going to address that? And he tried to, you know, scoot around it and scare. And I'm like, these people are so disingenuous. The fact that you think you can come on camera and give me 3 options, like a couple of months ago, you weren't telling me, oh, I'm going to put you in hospital. It's like, what? Who are you? Like, I saw you off camera and Ali Dawah had to hold him back and say, you know, calm down, Mohammed, calm down. And I'm like, listen, I haven't got time for this. And you saw me on that video. I walked away. I was like, I haven't got time for this.
Yeah,
because,
and even Ali Dawah admitted that Hijab had done that as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. He admitted it. And I'm like, but how are you guys getting away with this? And why are your followers not even hearing what's being said? You know, like no one can at Speaker's Corner can say Sarah is X and Sarah came and threatened me and Sarah came and did this to me off camera. No one can say that because that's not me. I'm the same way I'm on camera is the same way I'm off. Right? The same way I'm on is the same way I'm off. That's me. But I find that these people have a different persona when the cameras are turned on. Some of them, not all of them.
Yeah.
But some of them have a different persona when the cameras are turned on.
Yeah, so there's
in closing, 2017 has been a very interesting year for myself when it comes to Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously we wish you safety and all the best, and perhaps at some point you will feel it's a safe place to come back to. I don't know if that's the case or will ever be the case again.
Well, the way I'm watching it unfold right now, this is still a very hostile place, it seems.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it could do without, if there were, we could list off at least 10 people that are regulars there that Speaker's Corner could do without, and the standard of conversation would go up, the hostility would go down, and the whole place would be a better place. We just need to get rid of 10 core people that, you know, just get rid of them. But going back to the point that you talked about with the followers and stuff, I'm really, because I read a lot of the comments now, I really think, and TDS Dave, who I think you know, he came down after you left there. There's a smart guy. He's a viewer here, and he sort of summed it up. For them, it's like a football match, and they will follow the Muslims no matter what. And somehow in their mind, they can justify it. As in like the threats, the whatever it is, they don't even see the tactics. They're completely oblivious to that. Even when it's pointed out, they will find some excuse to go around that, whatever the case is. So I think the mindset is one of facts don't care. They don't care about facts. It's supporting their Muslim brothers who look good. It's like a Hollywood production, low budget version of that, and they will follow them no matter what. I mean, literally, if somebody got injured there, they would find a way in their minds to justify and go, well, that guy deserved it. And so this is the level of following and viewers and commenters and people that we're talking about. Again, it's not all Muslims, but there's enough of them to build a picture of the people that either watch, support, or whatever the case is. Again, not all of them. There's probably people that will disagree, but they're in the minority. They're very quiet. They're not going to openly do it. I've spoken to one or two at Speaker's Corner, but they won't go on camera, of course. So you have this militant, seemingly minority, but a majority of people that I interact and see with, who agree with all of these guys. They can do nothing wrong. They are, and that time with Sabur where he chased the guy around, you weren't there at that stage, chased the guy around like a chicken. Puck, 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 puck. I said to Hijab at that time, I said to him, is this the way Muslims behave? And well, he shouldn't really have done that. But hey, that atheist guy, what about him? He walked away. Why is that? He was very quick to change the subject. He kind of, when I pressed him, he would kind of do it, but then change the subject. So it's a case of supporting their Muslim brothers almost no matter what. They might say something here, but it's like almost nothing.
And of course, he had it coming.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Essentially.
They don't care about facts. Anything that disagrees with their ideology, they've got to find some way around it. Now, the quote unquote, and I use in big inverted commas, the smart ones will attack science and try and use a philosophical approach. The others will just ignore it. The others will just try threats. I mean, there's all kinds of tactics.
What I've noticed is all Islam, let's say Sunni Islam, right? Salafi Islam does not want cooperation. This is from my personal view. People can disagree or agree. It wants domination. And so when you come to a country that already has its rules and regulations set in place, and you are now attempting to create new rules, new regulations, you are going to get a pushback. Which is why, from what I've seen, is why all races, all other religions, right, will you quote unquote unite against this ideology called, Sunni Islam. Because I said, you can look at Raj. Raj is a Sikh, but Raj may not agree with atheism, right? He may not agree with, some of the people down there that call themselves Kemetists. He may not agree with Christianity. But he knows that this thing called Sunni Islam is totally incompatible with anything, right? So we will find people like Raj linking up and talking with Christians, Christians talking with Raj talking with atheists against quote unquote Sunni Islam, because they're all in agreement that this ideology isn't about cooperation, it's about domination, and nobody wants to be dominated, right? So this is
Sarah, have you been to the Middle East?
I've been to Lebanon. I was in
No,
Lebanon
that's not far.
2 years ago.
A little bit further, because I've been to all the places, like from Riyadh, Doha, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and so on. The irony is that if you go to a Western-style shopping center, you have posters everywhere saying, please respect our culture, dress accordingly, don't go in short skirts, don't go without covering your shoulders, respect our rules and our culture, and don't pretend that this does not exist. So they are demanding conformity and tolerance, and yet when the Omani woman goes into Europe, into my country, for example, then I need to go and adopt her style once again. This is the irony.
Because it's not about cooperation. It's really not about cooperation. It's about domination. It's about superiority and domination. So this is my own personal view, because I've interacted with this system for what, three years now on a personal level. And I'm like, and they always talk about, oh, Sarah, you talk about your ancestors. And I said, not at not one point during the whole of my time there have I ever said, you must follow this way or else. Not once. Right? So really and truly, what does that even matter? If I say I'm in my bedroom talking to my ancestors, how does that affect your life? It doesn't, right? It doesn't. It's a belief of mine, which I can't substantiate factually, and I've accepted that. But when you talk about your stuff, you're talking about it in absolutes, like it's a fact, and like everybody should follow it or else. And I'm like, that kind of ideology, that kind of arrogance, that kind of ego doesn't make sense. It is going to cause conflict. And if you're the one causing conflict and then crying that people are conflicting with you, it doesn't make any sense. Because I've noticed that these people will quickly turn victim in a split second. Oh, look, you're an Islamophobe, you're a hate preacher, you don't like Islam. But then on the flip side, they will be the ones telling you how to talk, how to react, how to do all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I can't deal with that bipolar type, like bipolar type ideology. I can't deal with it. The way in which I speak, like Rob said before, I feel like I may have a unique, speaking style, but I'm a no-nonsense type of person. And if I see no nonsense, I will tell you that it's nonsense. And if I don't know the answer to the question, I will tell you the only answer. If I have a belief, I will tell you it's a belief. I'm just trying to be honest. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be honest. I don't have all the answers, but I know that this one doesn't make sense. It's not objective. It's definitely subjective. But you have people that are telling you, oh, this is like I debated Hamza earlier on the year, telling me this is an objective belief. That's an oxymoron. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't think
this
we
riled them up. When
Yeah,
you
that's
said,
a bit-
I'm as crazy as you are, I think this got them even madder.
Right, exactly. I said, if we're all in a padded cell together and we're all rolling around, I'm cool with that. But don't tell me that your crazy is a superior type of crazy over my crazy. I said that.
Exactly.
We're all crazy. That's it. Don't tell me, oh, I'm crazier than you, or you're crazy. Bro, if crazy is crazy, bro, and I'm cool, but I'm actually okay with that. They are not okay with seeing that they have a quote unquote crazy system. Whereas I will tell you, I know this looks crazy, me talking to my ancestors and all that kind of stuff. However, it's just a personal thing, I ain't telling you to believe it. I ain't telling you to do it. I'm not telling you that you're going to burn in hell if you don't do it. It's just something I do personally. Like someone collecting, let's talk about stamp collectors. They collect stamps. Like it's not going to harm you. Like they just do that in their spare time. Shit. Like what the hell? Why do you have such a problem with that?
Yeah, I think what you've done there that's brilliant, because you've shut down from that point of view them challenging your beliefs. If you don't want to talk about it, or if you said, hey, I can't substantiate my personal beliefs, that's the end of the conversation, your beliefs, because
Exactly.
you're not going out there challenging it and telling everybody that you think it's objectively true, whereas they are doing that. Now, they've taken so much flack in terms of trying to defend it, and they've been exposed such a lot that they're desperately looking for a way to offset that in some way. And one of the ways is to challenge somebody else's beliefs. Now, I don't mind my beliefs being challenged, and you don't mind yours, and you're happy to say what you're happy to say. But what you've done really well there in that sense is shut it down. There's nothing else that they can say. They can say, oh, well, because you've admitted that it's subjective, and that's your view.
I've disarmed them, you see?
Yeah.
It's a disarm, because what they need to survive is fuel to basically shut down another person so they can get other people to galvanize behind them and say, look, and point and stare and laugh. And I'm telling you, listen, point, stare and laugh all you want, but I ain't telling you to follow this stuff. You're telling me to follow your stuff. So I can galvanize more people behind me to point, stare and laugh at your stuff. Because you're telling everyone this is a fact. And during this 2017 year, I want to go out on trying to let people understand what a belief is and what something that is a fact and a knowing is. I just want people to understand that. You know, like that is my main goal. If you can't prove it, you already know you're an atheist, Rob. You understand? If you can't prove it, then you don't have an argument, really, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, you can believe whatever you want, and you've got to have good
Right.
reasons. And knowledge is a subset of belief. So if you believe something, then that doesn't necessarily mean that you know it. And of course, Hamza got terribly confused with that. And even on the conversation I had when you and Gary came over, I kind of thought he was getting it, and then he sort of lost it again. And so, yeah, I don't think they know the difference, because when you talk about it in a layman's terms, they believe that they have got certainty, which of course they don't have, but it sounds much better to them, and so that's the wording they want to use. I know God exists, or I'm certain, or it's an absolute, or it's objective, or whatever, and of course they're completely clueless. Even the philosophers know that's not the case, but now you're talking to lay people, but they want to make it sound certain. And so you're right, it's unpicking that and saying, hey, you've got a belief, which took Hamza 5 months to eventually accept, not from you, but from somebody else who eventually explained to him, because obviously he wouldn't accept it from you, or eventually
he wouldn't accept it from me. And even and what was interesting is that he even admitted that he couldn't prove Allah to be a fact, right? He couldn't prove it. So after you said that to me, that's case closed for me. You tell me you can't prove Allah, but you're standing here every week telling people to believe in Allah, but you can't prove it. You can't prove it. Why would I listen to you?
Yep. Why would anybody believe it then?
Yeah, if you tell me that you can't prove it, I'm supposed to be listening to you, and you can't prove it.
But then his response was, oh, I did an intellectual investigation. Or what does it turn out? Somebody found a video, and his intellectual investigation, which again I heard in another video, was, the universe, I don't know how the universe could have come about. It had to have been a creator, which is an argument from ignorance or personal incredulity. It's like, I can't think of anything else, therefore it must be this. And then it turns out in the video that the real crux of the matter of him becoming Muslim, on a video where he's being interviewed, was the threat of hell. And that
threat of hell, yes, that was what it was. Yeah, fear, basically.
Yes, an emotional thing. But this is what most people do. So they get converted to, let's say, Islam or Christianity, but we talk mostly about Islam. And then they start to try and look for justification afterwards, because the conversion process is very, very unlikely, if not impossible, I would suggest, that they did it on a really critical thinking. That's my claim for all theists, basically, especially the Abrahamic ones. Their critical thinking faculty, if I could unpack it, I'd find a point where their critical thinking faculty, and Hamza was a great example, where it failed, or they just were not up to the same standard that they would criticize Christians or something else. They just let it go when it was their own view. And Hamza was a great example. So now what they try and do desperately is try and find arguments that'll justify the bad decision they made 10, 15 years ago. And now they, but if you rewind the clock, they just weren't critically thinking.
During this time, I spoke to Ali Dawah. I said to him, I remember that debate with him. I said, do you know 1 + 1 is 2? He said, yes. I said, do you know you are here? He said, yes. I said, do you know God exists? Yes. No, you don't. No, you don't. We just established what you know. You now believe something exists outside of time and space. You don't know it does. So to come here and tell me that you know God exists doesn't make sense. And for me, it's very basic. It's a basic understanding. However, they try to, nice it up and put a package on it and a bow and all these ribbons and stuff to make it look like something great, but it ain't. It's just really basic. And I'm telling you, all debaters at Speaker's Corner that I've debated, I mean, for me, in 2017, if we're going back, Hamza was the most slippery for me. He was a slippery. I got him eventually. The first debate we had, he tried to run away from the word belief and do all this other stuff and and use his sophistry arguments and all this kind of stuff. But I eventually caught up to him, right? And eventually got him. I feel for 2017, it's made me realize that sophistry and arguments from ignorance are a basic staple of these people.
Must be. Do you think other Muslims see this?
I don't know. If I'm honest with you, I don't know that the majority of Muslims actually think critically enough to actually get it.
No, I agree with you, Sarah. They definitely do not. I'm much more certain of that than you. And I've had some psychological training, so I've looked at a lot of the tactics that are involved there. We've talked about it on many of these shows as well. And each of the, let's call it the regulars down there, Hijab, Mansour, whatever, most of those sort of guys, Ali Dawah, etc., they've all got their own way of doing it. They all have tactics that when they're in a corner or when they don't know something, they will use some type of intellectually dishonest route to avoid saying, hey, I don't know, or hey, I haven't got an answer to that. I mean, the times I've heard that, I think I'm lucky to count it on one hand. I actually cannot remember one occasion where that's happened. It may have done in some video. I'd have to go look for them specifically, but it's so rare. It's like hen's teeth. You just won't find it. And so they all have a tactics. And I think it's pointing that out, because I don't think the Muslims have any clue that these tactics, they are looking at it as like a football match. As long as their man sounds confident and he can avoid looking stupid, that's all they need to walk away and go, he won the debate.
I agree.
It's got nothing to do with facts.
But isn't that a certain level of a Muslim? Isn't that somebody who really doesn't sort of get it? Come on, because they have a following of what, a couple of thousand people, and that's it.
Ali Dawah's got like over 100,000 followers, bro.
Yeah, exactly, and that's it. I mean, we're talking about a couple of billion, and all he manages is a couple of thousand. Come on, he doesn't make that much sense.
Yeah, but I would always say a microcosm is like, you know, a view of the macro. The macro is a view of the macro, right? I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
You know, so that you may think, oh, he's only got 100,000, but the thinking of them, you know, extends to the millions and the billions.
Yeah, I would say
people on this panel, man, people like Answer, people like Stopspamming, people like you, people like me, they essentially have a defense mechanism is, oh, it's a kafir. You know, like that's a defense mechanism. It's a kafir. It's a non-believer anyway, so we don't need to listen to them. So if that essentially is what is at the core, because I've watched debates that I've been in, and I know I've made sense. And I've gone to the comment section and I've read and I'd be like, hang on a minute. They've spent the whole time watching this debate thinking, Sa Ra is X. Sa Ra is X. And they haven't listened to a damn word that I've been saying. And that is, do you know what I mean? It's like, think, Sa Ra, they've been watching this thinking, Sa Ra talks to his ancestors, Sa Ra is a Kemetic, or Sa Ra is racist, or so they've spent this whole conversation with that in their head, and they've just made a comment. But they've watched the whole video. I've just been like, that have you watched? No, but have you listened without that tape playing in your head? Have you listened to what's being said? No, they haven't, because I'm a kafir basically. And what could I say? What could a kafir really say?
It's a smear tactic, ultimately. You know, that's what it is. I mean, it's just like the left. Like, if you disagree with their, like, you know, multiculturalism and stuff like that, then you're automatically a racist, or you're, you know, some sort of Islamophobe. I mean, it's basically two sides of the same coin. It's the two sides of the same coin. Because
they are very similar in their methods. Like they love to dox people. They love to threaten people in the same way.
You know,
I think it's the same kind of emotions, same kind of ressentiment, and
they get personal. That's all they have.
And they are kind of morally. They think that both the regressive left and the Muslims think that they are morally superior to everybody else, so they justify that.
Think about it too, because we have to think about it from, like, you know, their perspective too. They have access to something which they think is perfect, which is, you know, unchangeable, which is for every aspect of life, and which is superior to all, you know, to all other systems. So how do you defeat something like that? when in their minds everything they have is perfect.
Yeah, well, it's exposing it, isn't it? It's asking those questions and exposing it. I mean, you look at this video here. Fortunately, there are some good comments there with Phil. But if you go and look at the comments, I put the link in the private chat. I put it in here again. Phil has got some expertise here. But you go and look at the comments in this video, and it's just shocking. Apart from the ones that said "Great job, Phil," whatever. It's lovely listening to Phil. If you go and look at the Muslim comments here, it's just mind-boggling that people can go. Watch an entire video like that, and then the response is, Phil said he doesn't know. I mean, it's like what Sarah said, if that's what the takeaway from that sort of a video, it's like your ears are closed, or the sound is going in, but it's not penetrating to the brain and it's not making sense. You're not comprehending it, or if you are, it's completely being dissolved and disappearing immediately.
Because he's a kafir. That essentially, he's an unbeliever, essentially. And so when you have an ideology that says anyone that doesn't think like you is less than, it's actually really and truly, it's actually pointless having a conversation with them, because if that's the monologue that's being played within your head when you're speaking to somebody, what's the point of speaking to them? If you speak to somebody honestly and say, okay, this is a human being, I'm a human being, let's have a human argument, or let's have a human conversation, it's a much easier place to be. But to have a monologue in your head saying this person is actually a kafir, so I'm not actually going to listen to what they're saying, that's what's called, essentially that's what brainwashing is, right?
Yeah, I mean, it may well be that that's what they believe, and many of them do. They may not admit that. What I do think is useful, though, is still having the discussions, because there are people out there that are going to look at the videos, because we're not, the point is not for these sort of sheepish, brain-dead Muslims. You're never going to convert them. They're always going to cheer for their own side, no matter what. Even if there was physical violence, they're going to justify it in their minds. But where it is useful is for people who are on the edge or thinking about it. We've had ex-Muslims on the show, and you hear the common thread. Hey, I woke up from the Matrix. Hey, I started engaging my critical thinking. It was videos that I watched. I started to learn more. And there's probably, we probably don't even know how many millions are out there that may or may not watch your videos or mine or whoever the case is. And now they start to see the facts, and they start to research on their own quietly.
I will say, though, the amount of personal messages on either Twitter or Facebook or Instagram that I get from people saying the same stuff you're saying. I mean, I've got people from the United Arab Emirates contacting me saying, oh my God, I watched your videos and I think they're great. And these are Muslims, or quote unquote ex-Muslims. And I'm like, whoa, you live in where? He's like, oh, I live in Kuwait. I'm like, bro, like, what the hell? And he's like, well,
no, it's very common now. This is what I'm seeing all the time, that these people are starting to wake up. Do you know that somebody now said, that there are something like 30% atheists in Saudi Arabia? And this was a Muslim.
I would probably agree, because they know they can't essentially leave, because apostasy is death, So
do you know how many people go through the motions? I've got so many people in the office who are saying to me, well, do you think that I really believe this? And I said, yeah, but you go there on a Friday. Yes, he says, I need to, because my family expects it of me. They go through the motions, but they're not with it. They're not really Muslims at all. They don't give a continental damn about all this stupid stuff, but they have to. It's the peer pressure.
I would agree, because I can, from a personal point of view, I have people contacting me from all over the world, telling me, oh my God, I saw your video and I liked it and I like what you said about, and I'm like, but what are you? Oh, I live here, but I can't tell my family. And I'm like, wow.
So you're confirming. Wow. Okay, great. Yeah, exactly.
And I was actually speaking to a guy from the UAE personally, like via message, and I said, what happens if you tell your family? He said, oh, well, I'd get jail time and I'd be exiled from the country. And I was like, whoa, don't tell them. Like, don't.
Actually, it's very different. there are entire families by now who are just going through it and they don't give a shit, really. There's a lot of them. So it's starting to change. That, you know, like in the old days, I remember like 15 years ago or so, beginning of you know, like 2000, 2001, people were still being prosecuted for things like that. And then I remember in 2008, I think it was, when I was in Dubai, somebody got prosecuted because he was standing in the way of an Emirati who hit him in the back while sitting at a red traffic light. Because he was sitting at the red traffic light, the judge said, well, you're a foreigner, and if you wouldn't have been in our country, this guy wouldn't have hit you, so actually it was your fault.
Wow.
This doesn't happen anymore.
Wow.
Well,
I
I've had
mean,
I've had guys. I've had this was in Qatar, when some juveniles, they went and followed two of our sekis around, followed them home, and then danced around them, you know, trying to get all sexy and blah blah blah. And then they called our security. Security came out and got the guys arrested. And of course, the guys were connected and they were out of jail. The two secretaries were deported within 48 hours.
well, I mean, I don't personally visit the Middle East or Muslim countries because personally, I get a lot of inbox messages from people over there, and I'm like, I'm not trying to be in a Middle Eastern country and somebody recognizes me. I'm not trying to be there.
Do you know that I have the same feeling? Because now I'm out of there, okay? But I'm still looking at this, and I think, why is he looking at me? Does he know who I am? You know, have you ever heard of a guy called the Rationalizer?
No, I haven't heard of him. No.
Okay, he used to be quite upfront here on YouTube, but he made everybody aware of who he was, showed his face and everything. People doxed him, and then he told me that he was actually afraid of walking in his hometown because people in the street, Muslims, recognized him and gave him dirty looks. And he said, I suddenly became aware of where I am walking. And when I'm going home, I'm never going home the same way. I always look over my shoulder, make sure I'm not followed so that my family is safe. But he says, it's amazing how you suddenly pick up small little details where he thought he was just making harmless videos. That's it.
Right. The internet is a very powerful place now. Okay. So, you know, I get people approaching me in the street. Oh my God, I saw your video and I like this and you know, and what I do have to say for 2017, I thank Speaker's Corner. I thank the people down at Speaker's Corner because they've now given me an avenue that I didn't think possible before I went to Speaker's Corner.
You mean exposure?
Yeah, I didn't sit down and have a master plan of this is what I'm going to do. And you know, I was going down there speaking my truth. That's what I was doing. Generally.
And you are an actor. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it?
That's what I'm trying to say. Essentially, I was an actor. People knew me as an actor. You know, I started working. I put down the acting like 10 years ago. I haven't acted for a very long time. And then this came up because I had an opinion about some stuff. And then it's like, now people in America are calling me saying, hey, come over, you know, and speak on this stuff. And I'm like, really? Yeah, come over. I'm like, okay, cool. Literally, it's been an organic experience, you know? And it's like, all right, I thank you guys because you guys may hate me and want to bloody kill me, but it's given me an avenue that I didn't think possible before. So for 2017, I'd say thank you to the Muslims down the Speaker's Corner, you know? Like, thanks, guys, you know? You kind of created something that I didn't think was possible, and I wasn't, I'm telling you 100%, I wasn't even thinking about, because they have their theories of, oh, Sa Ra's backed by the Zionist Jews and Sa Ra's being paid, you know? Like, I'm telling you, right? Sa Ra's big, because the paranoia is real within these people. It's very real, it's not even a joke. Their paranoia is exponential. Anyone that speaks up against Islam is backed by Zionist Jews and all this. And I'm like, listen, I'm a dude from like London, bro. You know, like seriously, I'm just a dude from London. I've got my family, got my children, and I had an opinion. That's it. It's really my story. But you guys think...
Sorry, that's the...
Go on, sorry.
Carry on, sorry. No, carry on. You were saying something.
No, but that's my story.
I think... But what Speaker's Corner is good for that, because most people, and TJ is from the US, has said the same. Even in the US, they don't have a place like this. So here you are seeing the live open-air discussions, and people are longing for that sort of thing seemingly. They don't have it. They wish they were there, and they kind of almost live some of that stuff through certain people in different ways. And I think there's different styles appeal to different people. But I do think that it is a sort of, it's almost like it's a combined thing, whatever we are, Christian, atheist, Kemetists, ancestors, whatever it may be, it's almost like there is a common front there that is challenging Islam, because Islam is the dominant people there. They are the dominant view that seems to be floating around the Speaker's Corner. So yes, that's the one that's going to be challenged, because they are also the ones that are most militant, and the ones that claim to have truth even more than the Christians do. I mean, you get the odd, but you get a couple of good Christians that you can have a conversation with. But apart from one or two Muslims, most of them are very dogmatic about it. So, because I always get the question, why are you always, quote, attacking Islam? Well, I'm challenging Islam because most of the people down there are Muslim. And the rest of the people that come down there, I can live quite happily with. But some of those people down there, I wouldn't want to live with. They could rather go back to the Middle East somewhere, and we can live quite peacefully without them. But of course, they don't want to, because it's better here for them than it is there.
I can tell you categorically that no one on this panel that's speaking is going to be attacked in the street by a Christian for the views that they have about Christianity. I'll be quite confident about that. The police aren't going to come to you tomorrow and say, "Oh, this Christian fundamentalist group want to kill you." Not going to happen.
Unless you're an abortion doctor.
Yeah, true. That's true. Unless you're an abortion doctor.
Yeah, but even in the 80s.
But that's you have to be in America for that stuff. Americans are crazy anyway, but that's just my personal view.
You have to be in America, and you have to be in the 1980s.
Right. But
that's Americophobic, bro. That's Americophobic right there.
The thing is, what's very interesting, right, is that in Wembley, near Wembley, there's this Hindu temple. There's like a fantastic Hindu temple. Like, it is like, it's a beautiful temple, right? And when Diwali comes, they have their like light show, and they have their fireworks and stuff. And I would take my children down there and just like watch the fireworks. And I'm cool. And I get the vibe from these Hindus. I'm not part of their religion, and they're not part of what I believe, but they're cool, I take my children to go and see their stuff. I go down on Diwali to go and see their stuff, and I'm saying to you, these people are not a threatening type of people. They don't want to take over the system that we currently have. The Sikhs...
Can I comment on that for a second?
Sorry, go on.
Yes, I just want to comment on that because, my parents are from India, and I was born in America, but I still consider myself as Indian. But Hinduism in of itself is not it's not really an ism. The term Hindu refers to a culture. It refers to indigenous people who are indigenous to South Asia, so present day India, Pakistan, Bangladesh.
Okay.
And the surrounding areas. And I didn't know this. No, it's fine. And I didn't know this, but it's not really an ism. I mean, there's multiple viewpoints. So the first school of atheism was actually found in India, and I had no I had no idea about this, and I started delving deeper into it, learning about history and stuff like that. And India was the only country that gave Jews refuge without any sort of persecution, anti-Semitism, or pogroms. And I had no idea about this because I was always taught that Hindus are radical, they're fascists and stuff like that. And it just completely flipped my whole worldview around. And I was like, wow, you know, what I was taught was the the complete opposite of it, and it's more of a cultural thing. You know, all these, you know, these aren't, you know, the Indian schools of thought are not really isms in of themselves. They're more like you know, I mean, I would say they're more like, you know, either viewpoints or maybe
Cultural
traditions. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, you know, whether it be Buddhism, you know, Sikhism, Jainism, Hinduism, quote unquote, like all these, like, you know, you can be you know, Hindu would be like an atheist. You can, you know, be a, you know, agnostic, a humanist, a deist, you know, pantheist, you know, monotheist, polytheist, or whatever. It doesn't negate your, you know, you being a Hindu. And I had no idea about this. And once I, you know, delved deeper into it, I was like, wow, like such rich heritage, like all the discoveries, you know, discovering zero, you know, performing the first, you know, plastic surgeries and, like, you know, cataract surgeries and all these mathematical and, like, you know, scientific discoveries. And then when I learned about the, you know, Islamic invasion of India and how badly that, you know, retarded, you know, my people, I had no idea. Because in India, the, like, you know, the textbooks are completely biased. You'll have full chapters on all these, like, you know, Muslim kings, and you only have maybe a paragraph or a sentence on, like, you know, the, like, you know, Hindu freedom fighters that, like, you know, stood up to them. You know, and we still have roads in India named, you know, named after these psychopaths, which is absolutely crazy. You know, absolutely crazy. And, like, you know, just to give you an idea of, like, you know, the devastation, it's around 100 million.
Sorry, are you a Hindu? Are you a Hindu?
I was born in like the, like, you know, Sikh tradition, but I identify myself as Hindu culturally, definitely. And I would say I'm more of like an agnostic myself. I used to be a, you know, militant leftist atheist, but I would say I shift my position more to a type of agnosticism. But you know, I didn't realize, but like you know, after reading, you know, the other side of the story, you know, it's estimated that around 100 million Hindus, upwards of 100 million Hindus, were slaughtered, and that's the greatest Holocaust in and that's the greatest Holocaust in human history. And not one museum, not one, you know, landmark, nothing, a plaque, nothing commemorating this. And it's just like we've forgotten our history, you know. And even the Muslims of India today. Sorry, go ahead. No, I was saying that, like, even the Muslims, like, you know, the Muslims of like, you know, India today, they deny their ancestry. You know, like, you know, all the DNA testing is coming back, and everybody from Kashmir all the way down to the South India, we all share the same DNA. And yet we were taught about, like, you know, the caste system and its evils, and like how, like there's different tribes and, like, you know, races in India, and we all share this, like, you know, share the same DNA. So it's pretty crazy, and like that completely changed my whole worldview on things. I completely flipped upside down. Like,
but
I have nothing to.
I've always said that any people that are left alone will thrive due to their own environment, right? So you have your people who were left, and you were talking about plastic surgery, and you're talking about all this kind of stuff. You were left alone to thrive. And then invaders came in and just, like, basically smashed all of that stuff and said, you know, we haven't got time for that. You know, you guys are kafirs, or whatever name they want to call you. And they tried to revamp the history. And I've always said, if you leave a people alone to their own devices, they will always thrive. No one should be allowed to go into another quote-unquote culture or people and superimpose their view on another people, because you actually remove culture in the name of your own culture. You remove culture in the name of your own culture, and then you give them derogatory names and all this kind of stuff. And I've said, if the people from all around the world have their own culture and they can interact on a basic quote-unquote human level, then we're cool. And I've said, when it comes to these, I've always said, Abrahamic religions, they are not about cooperation. They are about domination. They're not about, hey, what are you doing over there? Hey, that looks cool. Let me try and understand that. This is what we're doing over here. Let's talk about this. Why do you believe that? Why do you do that? Why? It's not about that. It's about, you see what you're doing over there? It's wrong. It's heathen. It's kafir. And we're going to destroy it and give you our stuff. And that is a type of ideology I can't deal with it, because I have no desire. I have no desire to go to Hindu people or Sikh people and give them my ideology. I have no desire to do that. But we can have a conversation though about why we believe what we believe. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Correction. Should be having a conversation. Should.
Yeah, it's true. Should be having we should be having a conversation. That's what. All right. So okay. So on a personal level, you know, anthropology, like anthropology is something big within my family. So we have people studying anthropology, and I learn. My family bring home books on anthropology, and I'm learning stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, this culture from Samoa or this culture from Papua New Guinea or something look at the world this way, and I'm in no position to superimpose my way upon these people, and they have no desire to superimpose their position on me. So it just becomes a conversation. Why do you do that? You know, why do you see things like that? And then we gain knowledge. Oh, you see it like that because of that. Oh, okay. Well, over here, we see it like this because of this. Okay, cool. We ain't going to fight about it. We ain't going to war about it. That's maturity to me. That's humility to me. These systems, it's just not about that. In my personal view, they're not about that. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to leave.
No problem. Thanks for coming in, buddy. Take it easy. Worries. Have a great new year, and hopefully we catch up in the new year.
You guys have a great 2018.
You too. Stay safe, eh?
All right, I will. I'll try. Okay, guys.
Right. All right. Take care, buddy. Cheers.
Cheers.